By perceptions, we were the Mexicans from the West Side Flats. Here comes the Mexicans, oh my goodness. Well, what do we need to do to really launch? Launch was the key word then. Launch to beyond our internally and also externally within the Mexican community, within the West Side, and to launch a campaign publicly that will reverse the trend of decline in all aspects of this community, including the possibility of relocation by the mere fact of having to leave for lack of or having to stay in a poverty status. We launched, we did some research, and some of us were already involved on a national scale and local scale with Cinco de Mayo. We had no idea, as a community, we had no idea what Cinco de Mayo was. None whatsoever. It was Mexican Independence Day that we all grew up with. And that's how this community, that was the catalyst that had made a difference in our transition from the old West Side. And I can tell you the exact year that took place, because I was one of the engineers and the primary organizer for Cinco de Mayo that brought Cinco de Mayo into the setting where the business community said, well, we don't know what it is, but we did commit that we were going to trust you.
The West Side was fascinating for me when I was fortunate to work with a lot of Latinos at the Spanish-speaking Affairs Council at the time. And so I came into an encounter with a lot of people from the Latino community. So the history of the West Side was fascinating. How the neighborhood and people from the neighborhood had worked hard to make it flourish and to make it, go beyond the stereotype of the bad stereotypes that the West Side had. And so I was always eager to learn more about it and to kind of be part of it. I think the other reasons were that at the time in 1980, the West Side had probably the largest concentration of Latinos. So the West Side had the El Burrito grocery market in Boca Chica, and the restaurants and the foods that again made me feel like I was home. And so I shopped there, I visited, I went to restaurants there, I participated in activities, and certainly I learned a lot about the background and the history of the neighborhood.
We started Cinco de Mayo in 1983. And from there, it went on to progress to what it is now today. That was our vision, with some variations. But back then, the spirit became, let's promote Cinco de Mayo. And what did we promote in Cinco de Mayo? The taco. It actually was kind of humorous because we're sitting at a round table with business people, and it's like, okay, we kind of understand what Cinco de Mayo is. We know what Mexican Independence Day is because the church has it. We go every year, buy tacos and so on. But we don't understand what Cinco de Mayo is. But okay, it seems, based on the research we did, it seems like a viable event that we want to do. And it'll become ours because no one else has it. So there's no challenge there. But okay, Cinco de Mayo, but what is it? Mexican holiday? It's not Independence Day, it's a Mexican holiday. But in that, no one knows what Cinco de Mayo is, but we know what the taco is.
Then along came Cinco de Mayo, and I was invited to participate in the first parade, which I remember it was probably 8 units that participated in the parade. So I proudly wore my Guatemalan costume, and I think it was probably 6-8 people from Guatemala who marched in the parade. And that was an incredible time because there was hardly anybody looking in the sidelines. And, it was a very small parade. I remember walking in front of Boca Chica, certainly. So it was a short parade and a very, very small amount of units. And so that, for me, was the first interest and the first opportunity that made me figure out that we wanted to expose other Latin American cultures and that we wanted to bring people together. And so I began to volunteer for Cinco de Mayo, as I happened to be working with people who organized the Cinco de Mayo parade in San Verdeja was certainly the organizer. I was, again, welcome as a volunteer, and I was able to participate as a volunteer. And even though I was not Mexican and I was Guatemalan, I think the leadership of the Cinco de Mayo festival and fiesta were very welcoming to me and to others. So we began to, I began to help organize the parade, and I began to help organize the cultural activities. Particularly, I remember at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, we held several cultural celebrations where we had people from El Salvador, Bolivia, Guatemala, Ecuador, Colombia, and it was just an exciting time.
So we marketed the taco in the first year. And, people came. That first year, people said, oh, only the Mexicans are going to come. And same old stereotype, same old perception. And those of us were saying, well, let's try it. Let's see if it fits. To make a long story short, after the day was over, the only thing you could find on this one block, the only thing you could find was liquor. No pop, no candy, no food. We expected 500 people to show up, and mainly community people. I mean, I didn't. Some of us didn't. The community in general. So pretty much the community rolled up their sleeves with us, and the West Side Citizens Organization said, okay, what do we have to lose? We have nothing to lose.
I think that helped build community, that initial intention to present their heritage and their culture, and to be able to speak a little bit about it, and not only to help build education, to strengthen education with mainstream communities, but also to build among ourselves, among Latin Americans and Mexican Americans, to build community and to help bring us together through that process of cultural celebrations and cultural heritage.
I remember we were celebrating because there was about 5 of us, the key organizers, and we could not believe, and there was at least 2 of us in that lot that said, we came a long way from the West Side. The following year we went into planning, and people said, you'll never do it again. Never happen again, that was a one-time thing. Second year, 7,500 people. The third year, 12,500. In the third year of Cinco de Mayo, this community, and I know this because I was a key organizer for this, and I analyzed that. I said, public statements, we will no longer, ever, ever be relocated. We have had successes, and we have attached ourselves to the social fabric of City of St. Paul, and that's where George Latimer comes in. That's where Jim Scheibel comes in. That's where Governor Perpich comes in. And I said, we will no longer be relocated. We are a new generation, and we're here to stay. And we're going to contribute to the well-being and quality of life of the West Side, the preservation of culture, the issue of being mobilized again or relocated again, and the issue of preservation as a community. And in the long haul, which is what we're talking about today, our vision is the issue of cultural and economic stability, maintenance, ownership, becoming part of the fabric of the City of St. Paul.